I think think of a garden as a bit like a painting. So it's, I'm looking at things all the time and thinking, well, that would be quite nice over there. And I like that leaf shape next to that. So it's like a big canvas, really, but a living one. And so it's quite nice from that point of view. So I'd hate not to have a garden, because that's part of the whole creative process, really. I've always loved gardening. I used to have a really big garden. In fact, I did a book about my garden. And it's just lovely being out and making things grow and, having your hands in the soil. It's just very therapeutic. What catches my eye is the way the light's playing on something, the shapes, the colour. It's something more than just a plant. It happens to be plants, but it's not necessarily 100% important that it is a plant, if that makes sense. I don't paint really in here because the light's not good enough, but it's a fantastic room to store the paintings. And I have this thing here that I put the paintings on when I'm working on them. So, because you see it completely different when it's up in front of you as when it's on your board. So it's a good thing to be able to put it up there and stand back from it. Things like the negative spaces, things between the plants, are very important. And it's very difficult to see it. When you're working here, which is when I'm working on my board, it's too close, really. And things that sometimes you look at closely and you think, oh, that looks a bit odd. You put it on the wall and it sort of has a different feel about it. So it's important to keep looking at it up there. And you do see it in a different way. You can usually tell when you've got something, and I think, yes, I'm that sort of work, that's got what I'm looking for. And I think I don't want to part with it. And then sometimes, well, you have to part with it, it's my job. So, but there are some that I really, I would like to keep, I suppose. It's not very often. I mean, I can't tell you why it is that something, it might not be the most spectacular painting, it's just something that has a certain something for me. It might not for anybody else, it's just for me. I love light coming through things. I mean, like in this paintings, which have been backlit, the subjects have been backlit. I like the feel that the one petal, for instance, like here, is shining through from behind. I like that. And I like these sort of bits that are quite strong, and some of the dark shapes and the way the play of the light, really. That's what I like to try and get. So I suppose that's what I'm sort of looking for. And the relationship between the plants as well, that's very important. It's somehow the way they relate to one another. There's a sort of dialogue going on, which is important. It's hard to explain, really. It's something you don't quite always know what you're looking for. Things like the iris, I think it's somehow, irises are so sort of sensual and voluptuous, and there's something about the way these petals come out, and and it's that I want to sort of get the feel of in things like irises and tulips. With these amaryllis, I never much liked amaryllis actually, but I painted them up against the light because there's something marvellous about the neck. There's these great sort of heavy flowers and this trunk of a stem, and yet he's got this delicate neck, which is sort of, that's why I've painted them all showing these bits, the neck side of them, the back of the flowers, because there's something about that delicate neck and this great sort of blousy sort of flower at the end. And that's what I was trying to do with these particular paintings. And then I'm doing a series of these smaller iris paintings, which I'm into at the moment. And some of these are into the light. This one was painted into the light, and this one here. So you see there's actually blue iris, but painting with the light behind it, it's sort of thrown out all these lovely sort of orangey, browny colours, which are quite exciting. And you can't actually see how it's formed, because if you imagine looking right into the light, a lot of it looks quite black. So it's more to do with the overall shape then, rather than the form of the flower. But it's a bit like a landscape, really. It's not, so it's sort of botanical, but that's not the most important thing. It's to do with the colour and the shape of it. So that's some that I'm doing now. And then I've got, this one is some pitcher plant. I can't put it on the slope because it's too tall. I love these because they're such extraordinary things. And again, they're sort of not lit directly from behind, but the light's shining through them. So you get, it sort of brings out all these amazing patterns and you know, these colours that you wouldn't see if you just put them in an ordinary light. It's a bit like if things are in sunlight, the sun is so powerful and it just does something else. And so I suppose that's what I'm trying to recreate. It's a sort of sense of strong sunlight. So these are, and the lovely thing about these is that you probably don't notice, but when you see things closely, they've all got these little hairs because they, you know, they eat flies and stuff. The flies go down, but they can't come up again because all the hairs are going that way. So clever, isn't it? So that's, I don't often do them up that way because it's actually really difficult working on them. Imagine I've got to lean up to the top of it. This is this way up. This is a bit different really. I saw this plant in a nursery and it's a morning glory and it's just such amazing colours, and they had this huge plant of it and it was just going right up and all over the ceiling, and I just think they're amazing colours. So I painted it. It's not actually the sort of thing I normally do, but I quite like it, and I like these sort of snaky bits here. So that was a slight departure, but you know, it depends what you find. And these irises I absolutely love. It's one of my most favourite things. And this is one called Braithwaite. And I'm hoping to do some more irises when they come out. I've got some in the garden, and I love the really black ones, you know, those intense black ones. They're just so sort of erotic, aren't they? Irises, I think they're lovely. And then orchids, something else. I used not to like orchids, but actually I've rather grown to like them. It's the pattern and the colour of them that's just so amazing, and these intense sort of rich reds and pinks, and I don't know, they're sort of funny things, but I'm really quite like them. That's a Phalaenopsis. They're very easy to grow really, they're amazing things. And we have a very good orchid nursery quite nearby, so I go down there and scout around. And then this it's rather different, this one. I've done it, I've slightly blocked off the colours, but these black parrot tulips are, again, sort of erotic sort of flower, and I quite like those. I think I love these dark colours. That's one of my favourite things, and these lovely sort of shapes and of these edges, sort of cut out shapes, which are rather nice, and I quite like those. So that's the sort of passion of mine, really.